As persecution of Christians is at its highest level in history, well-known human rights activist Baroness Caroline Cox continues in her mission to be a voice for the voiceless, including in the House of Lords. Here she's calling on the British government to respond to ongoing human rights abuses taking place in Sudan.
I therefore ask the noble Lord what Her Majesty's government is now doing to help to redeem Britain's reputation by giving substantive political and humanitarian support to those valiant, peaceful protesters across Sudan who suffered a brutal response from the military government, including at least 67 killed, many injured and hundreds arrested.
Baroness Cox explains how God called her to provide help to those who weren't being reached in places like Sudan through launching her own charity called Humanitarian Aid and Relief Trust, or HEART.
Well, I founded HEART to fill a couple of gaps. So in HEART, we focus on people who are suffering from oppression and persecution, who are not reached by major aid organisations, partly for security reasons, that they're high risk, and partly for political reasons, because the big aid organisations will only get permission of a sovereign government. They don't get permission, they don't go. So the victims left unreached, unhelped, unheard.
She often personally visits these countries despite the risk to her own life, including Nigeria, where recent massacres of Christians have often gone unreported by the world's media.
Nigeria has suffered horrendously. Most people have heard about Boko Haram, and it has inflicted terrible suffering on the people. A lot of people haven't heard about the latest wave of violence and persecution against Christians by the Fulani, who are the tribal herdsmen who for centuries have driven their large herds of cattle in search of new pastures. They used to cause a bit of tension driving through. No one likes cattle eating your pastures, but they used to move on. More recently, they have actually come very well armed. They're very jihadist, militant, and it's estimated about 6,000 Christians were killed in Central Belt Nigeria last year. The killings are still going on now while we speak here, and they really do need prayer. The media on the whole does not cover this, and so we need to tell the world what's happening to the Christians in Nigeria.
Cox concluded by explaining what motivates her to continue to stand up for the oppressed around the world.
Well, we have a biblical mandate, don't we? To heal the sick, feed the hungry, speak for the oppressed, and not just the Christian hungry, the Christian oppressed. I mean, we work for victims of oppression. They mostly are Christians, because Christians are suffering the most persecution in the world today. But we work with Muslims, for example, in Brunei, Muslims in Sudan, other parts of Sudan. In Burma, we work with Buddhists, but most of our partners are Christian. But we have a mandate, and in order really to be sure that you can help them according to the biblical mandate, particularly to speak for them, you have to go and be there, and then come back and say, I've been, I've seen, this is how it really is. And I'm told that in the House of Lords, people do listen when I speak, because they know I've been there, I'm not just reading a report.
Peter Wooding for the Global News Alliance.
Alpha.